Reserve School Board meeting. Call to order.
Roll call first. Okay, Melissa Potts. Present. Brian Benyo.
Present.
Richard Blevins.
Present.
Mark House.
Present. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's start with the Treasurer's recommendation. It is recommended that the minutes of the January 8, 2015 organizational meeting and the January 8, 2015 regular meeting of the Western Reserve Local Board of Education be approved as mailed to each member in advance of the meeting.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Benyo.
Yes.
Mr. Blevins.
Yes.
Mr. Halls.
Yes.
Mrs. Potts.
Yes. Number 2, it is recommended that the January 2015 financial reports be approved and the January listing of bills be approved as mailed to each member in advance of the meeting.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Blevins.
Yes.
Mr. Halls.
Yes.
Mrs. Potts.
Yes.
Mr. Benyo.
Yes.
It is recommended that Jacob Zatchak be hired as assistant varsity baseball coach for the 2014-15 school year, pending all required paperwork.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Halls.
Yes.
Mrs. Potts.
Yes.
Mr. Benyo.
Yes.
Mr. Blevins.
Yes.
Superintendent's recommendations. The resolution to authorize superintendent to accept resignations between board meetings.
This is one we've done every year in the event of in between board meetings, and we have a situation where we have to accept a resignation. And the item number 2 is for hiring or authorizing to hire in those situations. So we do that every year. So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Potts.
Yes.
Mr. Benyo.
Yes.
Mr. Blevins.
Yes.
Mr. Halls.
Yes.
Number 2 is to authorize superintendent to hire staff between board meetings.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Benyo.
Yes.
Mr. Blevins.
Yes.
Mr. Halls.
Yes.
Mrs. Potts.
Yes. It is recommended that the board approve the January 8th, January 9th, and January 26th and February 2nd, 2015 as calamity days. Also, a 2-hour delay on February 5th, 2015 due to the inclement weather conditions, and forward the request to the Ohio Department of Education for the calamity day waivers.
So moved. Second. Are we on hours already? Are you on hours here?
Our calendar is days, but we're above the minimum hours. So we're
Someone said at our place that we have to be. It has to be in the new contract.
well, some contractual agreements specify a certain number of days or so many hours per day, and that's what some of the school districts are running into with if they say they want to go to hours and make it a 6-hour day, just for example. But the contract is that teachers teach 7 1/3 hours like our teachers do. Then you get into an issue with the contracts. Our contracts are days, number of days. So certainly you get beyond the 5, even though we have those days as calamity days because we're above the hours for the school year. Becomes an issue with employees and how many days are they not working. So that's something that I think as the next new contract comes up, something that needs to be looked at is what do you do if you have 6, 7, 8 calamity days and these people are contracted to work so many days. Something we need to look at down the road.
Mr. Benyo.
Yes.
Mr. Blevins.
Yes.
Mr. Halls.
Yes.
Mrs. Potts.
Yes. It is recommended that the board approve the service inspection agreement with North Coast Fire Protection for 2015.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Blevins.
Yes.
Mr. Halls.
Yes.
Mrs. Potts.
Yes.
Mr. Benyo.
Yes.
It is recommended that the board approve the following resolution accepting the OSFC Certificate of Project Completion.
I put the certificate in your folder if you guys want to see it.
That's basically the closing out of the facility project for the new building. All the forms and paperwork are in, and everything has been signed off on, and to get the money that comes back from some of those
Great.
funds.
We're all wrapped up?
Yep.
Should I say them? All right, the Western Reserve Local School District, Mahoning County, Ohio, entered into a Classroom Facilities Assistance Exceptional Needs Vocational Facilities Assistance Program with the Ohio School Facilities Commission on July 24, 2008, and whereas all construction has been completed and all contractual obligations have been met, and whereas the final reconciliation of the Western Reserve Local School District Project Construction Fund, Fund 10, with the Ohio School Facilities Commission has been completed. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Western Reserve Local School District, Mahoning County, approve the certificate of project completion and authorize the President and Treasurer to execute the certificate, and be it further resolved that the Treasurer be authorized to close the Project Construction Fund, Fund 10, and dispose of the remaining funds in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code, Section 3318.12.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mrs. Potts?
Yes.
Mr. Benyo?
Yes.
Mr. Blevins?
Yes.
It is recommended that the Board approve the Western Reserve Technology Department's plan to acquire bids to upgrade the Western Reserve wireless internet connectivity.
I've given you a handout on that, and I had sent that, I think, last week. And just a couple of things that I didn't include with the write-up is, again, these are estimated costs. We're going to get some bids, and basically what we're asking for tonight is to go ahead and look into getting those bids. Now, that E-rate is a rebate that we get. It's a federal rebate for certain types of technology. We typically get about 50%. Sometimes things get approved, sometimes they don't. If we don't get approved for the E-rate for this project, we'll put it on hold, or we'll look to maybe scale it down to one section of the building that needs more of that or not. But the figures that I gave you were to do the whole building, and some of that work, I talked with Chuck Sainer about some of that work that we can do in-house, and he had some concerns about disconnecting some of the hardwired things and moving that wire, and so it's something we'll look at when we get the bids, and then what we'd like to do is present that to you at the March meeting, because the E-rate information has to be submitted by the end of March, and then pending approval, we'll go on with that project probably July and August when school's out. If we don't get the E-rate approval, then we need to look at, because that's about 50% of that funding. So
I think I'd asked whether we looked into whether there were any grants.
I looked a little bit. I haven't. I'm going to talk to Chuck, and John LaPlante from Access might have some information on something like that too. So
There were a lot of different target grants around school
Yeah.
technology.
And it's interesting because I've seen several articles lately in various publications about, even there was one today I looked at with new facilities that they haven't really pushed the wireless connectivity, and that's almost much like what we have. We have a new building, and really our wireless capability is very limited, and it's just something that they didn't look at during that time frame. And we've talked about the whole bring your own device, and kids bringing their smartphones and their pads and that kind of thing, to where the wireless capability is what will enable those to be used as a tool down the road. So, but it's kind of all dependent on that E-rate, because of 50% or thereabouts. Actually, Chuck Sainer was saying we might even be a little bit over 50%. So any of that is always good. But like I said, what we're looking for right now is just to go ahead and get some bids and get some pricing, so we can submit that to E-rate, and then we'll make a final determination in a couple months.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Potts? Yes. Mr. Benyo?
Yes.
Mr. Blevins? Mr. Hall?
Yes.
It is recommended that the Western Reserve Hall of Fame guidelines be approved.
We're going to add
Okay. It is recommended the Western Reserve Athletic Hall of Fame guidelines be approved as presented at the January 8, 2015 board meeting.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Benyo?
Yes.
Mr. Blevins?
Yes.
Mr. Halls?
Yes.
Mrs. Potts?
Yes. It is recommended that Damon Buente be hired as the strength and conditioning coach for January through March 2015.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Benyo?
Yes.
Mr. Blevins?
Yes.
Mr. Halls?
Yes.
Mrs. Potts?
Yes. It is recommended that Jason Cochran be hired as the strength and conditioning coach for April through June 2015.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Blevins?
Yes.
Mr. Halls?
Yes.
Mrs. Potts?
Yes.
Mr. Benyo?
Yes.
It is recommended that Joseph T. Sorensky be hired as the junior varsity baseball coach for the 2014-15 school year pending number of participants.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Halls?
Yes.
Mrs. Potts?
Yes.
Mr. Benyo?
Yes.
Mr. Blevins?
Yes.
Also, just not to interrupt, but all of these coaches, with the exception of, I think Andrew Whitmer and Damon Bente, were in these positions last year, same position. So that you know that they're all returning to the same spots. Hmm? She was the one that, because of numbers, we didn't have enough.
It is recommended that Thomas Shugart be hired as the assistant varsity softball coach for the 2014-15 school year.
So moved. Second.
Mrs. Potts?
Yes.
Mr. Benyo?
Yes.
Mr. Blevins?
Yes.
Mr. Halls?
Yes.
It is recommended that Katie Sorensky be hired as the junior varsity softball coach for the 2014-2015 school year pending number of participants.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Benyo?
Yes.
Mr. Blevins?
Yes.
Mr. Halls?
Yes.
Mrs. Potts?
Yes. It is recommended that Sherry Pater be hired as the assistant varsity track coach for the 2014-15 school year.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Benyo?
Yes.
Mr. Blevins?
Yes.
Mr. Halls?
Yes.
Mrs. Potts?
Yes. It is recommended that Andrew Whitmer be approved as an unpaid volunteer track coach for the 2014-15 school year.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Blevins?
Yes.
Mr. Halls?
Yes.
Mrs. Potts?
Yes.
Mr. Benyo?
Yes.
It is recommended that Gerald Bartow be hired as a junior high track coach for the 2014-15 school year.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Halls?
Yes.
Mrs. Potts?
Yes.
Mr. Benyo?
Yes.
Mr. Blevins?
Yes.
It is recommended that Kevin Conley be hired as a junior high track coach for the 2014-15 school year.
So moved. Second.
Mrs. Potts?
Yes.
Mr. Benyo?
Yes.
Mr. Blevins?
Yes.
Mr. Halls?
Yes.
It is recommended that Damon Buente be hired as a junior high track coach for the 2014-15 school year.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Benyo?
Yes.
Mr. Blevins?
Yes.
Mr. Halls?
Yes.
Mrs. Potts?
Yes. It is recommended that Angela Knopf be approved as an unpaid volunteer junior high track coach for the 2014-15 school year.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Benyo?
Yes.
Mr. Blevins?
Yes.
Mr. Halls?
Yes.
Mrs. Potts?
Yes. It is recommended that Kent Knock be hired as a tutor for the 2014-15 school year.
This is for the high school, and I believe some middle school. Does he do some middle school too? Just high school. We had hired at the last meeting, Mrs. Rutroff, who was doing it part of the time, and Kent Knopf is doing it the other part, so we have full coverage all periods of the day, all week long for high school for tutoring. So we're kind of splitting that time up between the two of them.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Blevins?
Yes.
Mr. Halls?
Yes.
Mrs. Potts?
Yes.
Mr. Benyo?
Yes.
It is recommended that Emmett Chandler and Rebecca Cochran be added to the certified substitute list.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Halls?
Yes.
Mrs. Potts?
Yes.
Mr. Benyo?
Yes.
Mr. Blevins?
Yes.
It is recommended that Sandra Pickens and Joseph T. Sorensky be added to the classified substitute list.
So moved. Second.
Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Benyo?
Yes.
Mr. Blevins?
Yes.
Mr. Halls?
Yes.
Works first? Or do the public first?
Whatever. Just public first, if you want. Public first.
You want to speak? Is that okay?
Denise.
Yeah, I wanted to know if you could explain the drug testing policy, how it works with our students and our athletes. Like, what's the procedure?
If you can get them, if you ask for a written copy of the policy.
It was also in the
Yeah,
roundup.
they can start it with, right, from the provider with a copy tonight.
Everyone has a copy, there's a copy, and it's sign it prior to taking tests. Before the season, let's just say August, we tested 110 kids in August before the season. In the basketball season, we tested, I think it was in end of November, December. And then the company draws random. They draw 15 names random from all the kids we have registered. And we try not to keep, although some kids have gone 2 months in a row, I try and tell them that they give us an alternative list too to pull off of. So everybody has their sign sheet. The kids come in with a professional. They bring a nurse and they bring Zach, the guy who helps with the company. They take them, we close off the restroom area, they take them in, they let them go to the restroom, they test it right then. So they developed, they patented a strip that they can put right in for the urine, they can test it. If anything comes up questionable, they'll take it back to the lab and run it down further. So every athlete gets tested, and then next month we'll finish up with all the drivers. Because we haven't got all the drivers yet because I haven't got the forms and everything.
So all the athletes are tested before the season?
All the athletes are tested, unless like we had four kids on vacation beginning of August, and we tested them in September when we ran them. Rather than call them out for the test. And then if a student can't go, they leave me the stuff. Because what they do is, so they don't tamper with it, they use a thermal gun on it, it has to be a certain temperature. So they'll leave me with the thermal gun, the gloves, and the cups, and I'll get them from the kids and test them. I think I had to do this once. And then they come in that day, the next day, and I'll pick it up. Yeah, this year now they can do the oral swab, so if we get a student who can't go at all, and we had one student we swabbed this year, they have the oral swab now.
So
At no extra cost.
if they get tested before their sporting season, and then during the season they could be picked
They could be
randomly.
picked randomly.
They never get tested again unless it's randomly during that sporting season.
If
Is
you're
that
in that
correct?
sports, you correct, it goes to random.
And not to be rude, but when they're doing their urine test, is someone in the restroom with them?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, Zach is in there with the boys and the girl nurse is in with the girls. And
Do you-
then they have to check as soon as they come out of the stall or the urinal, they put the gun on. It has to be 89 degrees, I think it is. It has to be a certain temperature. So they know you haven't dipped it in the water, you haven't tampered with it, or you haven't brought
Your own.
your own, yeah,
Or
from somewhere else.
somewhere else.
Or somewhere else. So when they check that, and then they put it in a case, and then when everyone's done, they'll use the dipstick to go back and check every.
So if someone tests positive, what consequences do they
If you
have?
test positive the
What
first
happens?
time, the board policy is that on the first offense, I contact the parent then I refer them to a service, and then the student has to get
Counseling?
go into a rehab. Like, it's an 8-week program they go into. And then if they test positive the second time, then they're punished with playing time. The policy is I'm almost sure it's on the school website. If you go to the school's website, you can pull up that, specifically the drug testing policy, the regulations, the procedures, and all that's along.
The thing about our policy, and then we had it in Austin County, the randoms weren't as often, we ran them every month. So it's a good chance that all those kids are going to be tested at some point. Because they give me 15 randoms, then they give me 10 alternates. So if, they'll go to the Career Center too to test the kids because they run that.
Do you think it's effective the way we're doing it? Is it working?
I think you can only do so much, but yeah, I think it's working. I think it's a pretty good program. It doesn't,
Start, it's a good start. We weren't doing anything.
Oh, right, I'm glad we're doing something.
And unfortunately, the kids and parents sometimes flush. There's no doubt. They do.
Oh, yeah.
There's no doubt they do. And
But
the
if we
only thing
suspect
that-
anyone, we can always too, if the teachers are, if there's ever a reason for...
There's stuff now that we've gotten to the point where, last year was our first year doing it. We would call the kids down, have them come down. This year, Jeff and I go get them from the
So they don't
class.
know ahead of time.
Because, we call them down and they have, there's stuff now they can drink right from their locker and it'll dilute the whole test. And so now we have to go get them, we walk them down ourselves.
Now, does it, how is that paid for? Is that do you have a grant that pays for that, or is that not to sound
The school pays
stupid,
for it.
Is it all in with our taxes, what we, you know what I mean?
It's
That's
just
all?
school,
Okay.
yeah, school money that pays for it.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no charge to any of the kids for it.
Okay. Okay. I have another question.
And our
I didn't write it
our
down.
limit per year is
$3,000 is what,
dollars
yeah.
per year.
That's what we've been trying to keep it at, about $3,000 a year.
And each test right now is $20, so
Uh-huh.
we test 15 kids and we're going to go. But we do it every month.
Okay. I had another question concerning handicap parking. I think the handicap parking, wait a minute, we're in the old building. In the new building, it's near the locker rooms for basketball and stuff, okay? But just from taking tickets for all the sporting events with football and, track, there's no handicap parking on this back end, okay? That's a long walk from up there for handicapped persons.
There is on this, by the bus garage, there's probably 6 or 8 spots right by the entrance.
But you're on the home side.
Yeah,
But there's not
somebody
a-
brought that to our attention
Yeah,
last year.
I
We-
talked to
Visitor
Lisa.
side.
Yes, she mentioned that to me, and we'll
Can
have
you-
that for the
Okay, and
fall
what
season.
about did she say anything to you about going up the curb there? You have the curb and all that gravel, and people that are handicapped,
Over here?
On the away
Yeah,
side.
we have to look at that.
yeah, because I've seen so many people come in
Yeah.
that really, there's
Yeah.
one lady, she has no kids,
Right.
they're all grown, she comes to every sporting event, she has braces on her legs, and I don't know why they don't go on the home side, maybe they come too late, and there's no handicap.
Yeah, and some might be visitors too. that,
Yeah, and they
but,
have a hard time getting
Yeah, we
through.
need to do some better signage, either, creating some spots or to put some signs up on the light poles or something, handicap parking, use West Lot or something like
Yeah,
that.
because it's just,
Because there's 6 or 8
It's
spots
enough.
on that, along the bus garage and where the ticket booth is over that side. But that's something they've never really
yeah, even if it's
accommodated.
just,
Mhm.
5 or 6 right along that
Right.
baseball fence right there. or
Yep.
whatever.
Yeah, Lisa mentioned that to me, and
Okay.
that's on
Okay.
the...
And one other quick question. Okay, I was talking to Mr. Melito, and there used to be a class offered, college and career or something like that, where they helped the kids figure out maybe what they wanted to do with their lives and the colleges they want to go to. And he said that class is no longer offered because you brought in classes for college credit. That you
Well,
could take
it was-
for college credit. So
that
that was no longer available. Well, I've talked to some other parents, and I think that class was important. I think that class was more important than taking film studies.
Well, that was an elective class,
Right.
which was offered every year.
Okay.
And when we do the scheduling, Mr. McGlenn does it the same way, you look at the numbers. And if only 5 kids sign up for that class, and we've got 20 signed up for film studies, we do the film studies, we don't do the college language arts.
Yeah, and last year we had 41 in film studies and 3 in college and careers.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
terrible.
We
That
don't have enough
class
staff to run
was
it.
very beneficial. very
we just don't have enough
beneficial.
staff to run
Yeah, and
all of it.
that's where we do it. You know,
Okay.
I always, and I know Doug says the same thing, we offer way more courses than we can schedule.
Right.
And we look at the numbers, and we
And
look at
figure,
what
okay.
interest, where's the interest? And it
Because-
kind of goes in waves, and it might be something next year, there might be enough to, you know, it's a semester elective class, there might be enough to have that next year.
The way Mr. Melito explained it, it was like, well, we brought in more stuff so they don't have to go post-secondary. So
Well,
that's
that's
why we
part
got
of it
rid of
too.
that.
That's part of it too, is we only have 8 periods in a day and, you know,
Okay.
2 English teachers, but.
Right.
um,
Well, it makes sense that you don't have enough to fill the class.
We've kind of done that with ACT class. We used to have an ACT prep
You don't
class.
have that anymore either?
Well, we did it because,
It's free if you watch.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
You know, we used to purchase the software for the kids and do that. Now it's free. They can get it
Okay.
for free. They need to see Mr. Melito, get a login, and they can get on and practice ACT
Okay.
all they want at home on their computer.
Okay.
So some of those things have changed because of just
Times
different
are changing
reasons.
and-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Potentially online resources that we could make available, like for kids that are studying all periods if they want.
Yeah, that,
We're in the fuel ed program, the county, but there are some online
the other one.
courses.
I want to say COSI. I know that's not right. What's the, there's a career,
It was just a
Oh.
good class to help you. You didn't know what you were
OCIS.
doing.
OCIS is a site that I know Mr. Melito gets a lot of them on. I'm not sure what, I think 10th grade, maybe 9th grade.
And I know he's on overload. He's like, well, I have this testing, and we have this testing, and then I can talk to kids. I go, no, you can't, because that's graduation. You know, I mean, he's only one person, I know that.
Yeah,
I'm
but
like-
he whines a lot too.
I'm like, you know. So I just wondered why it wasn't available.
Yeah, that's the reason, is just because of numbers.
If we have enough kids, we got to run it. We
Yeah.
run it.
So they'd rather take film studies and breeze through it and get an A than research what they want to do with their life, pretty much, right?
Kids are kids, and
Yeah,
parents
I
sign
know.
those schedule sheets.
I know, I know. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Absolutely. All right, principal report, please.
I'm going to put it on, Debbie's on here, so. Go real fast. Just a couple of quick dates. This Friday night will be senior night for the girls and boys basketball teams. See you again. And prep band. Going to Studio Fun that night. So that'll be this week. That'll be before the varsity game. And then starting next week, we start park testing. Today, House Bill 7 came up with, they're proposing that the park test in the legislature not count at all. But we don't know. I don't know. Now they're saying it won't hurt you if you don't pass for graduation. We're going to give you an exemption for the first year. So I don't have a clue, but to give you an idea, next week we'll start with the elementary kids. Following week on the 25th, we'll start with the middle school, high schoolers. In the math, language, arts, they'll be doing the park. In science and social studies, they'll be doing the Ohio-based career assessment. And then the 10th graders will be hit with the OGT. So we'll be testing the high schoolers in algebra, physical science, American World History 2, and government this year. And then those start the 25th, and all that testing will run through, it's from February 25th, it will run through at least March 27th. We're testing almost every day. So, those are all those state mandated tests. To give you an update on the college in high school and the College Career Plus, which is becoming, we've had a meeting already with our sophomores and juniors. We have an informational meeting coming up in March 11th at 7 o'clock. We have 4 schools coming to do a little informational thing for kids. The College Career Plus is different in that it's open up to universities within 30 miles. So right now, the only agreement we have is for this year. Then we have a post-secondary with Kent Salem and Kent. But this will open it up for College Credit Plus, which drops as low as this year's current 6th graders and as high as 11th graders.
Do they have to have parental?
Yeah, and they have to pass ACT. There's all kind of things at the university that, but then if they dropped it to 17 ACT and 2.0, which is really low. So,
Some of these sixth graders can take a college
yeah,
course.
They have
there's certain things that they're going to tie in. You have to have an ACT score, of course. You have to, also the parent has to agree at those lower levels to go to college, go to school with them. So you have to sit with them all day, because they can't go on campus without the parent. So it's different rules. But we're looking further into that. We're looking at expanding, they're talking about dual credit. Is going to, if you have a master's now, you might be able to teach that, so we'll be able to expand some of those. The beauty of the dual credit is, again, to keep your kids fit. You don't lose them to post-secondary, you don't need them. Last year, we spent about $1,200, $1,500 in dual credit, and I think it was $48,000 or $49,000 in post-secondary. This year, we're only at $15,000 there, almost 30 kids in dual credit. If we let them go to college full-time, we'd be over almost 60,000. So right now, between dual credit and post-secondary, we're saving 2 or 3 kids really on post-secondary. So,
Mr. McGlynn, if there is a class that's offered post-secondary, are only those kids in it taking it for post-secondary?
no, right
Do you know
now,
what I
we're
mean?
going to look at that for next year. Right now, they're all mixed, so all doing college work.
So how do they separate, like, these 5 kids are here for the college credit, do they get different work? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
That's dual credit.
It's dual credit. What they're getting is they're getting credit for college and high school. They're getting both
but
credit.
they're all doing the same work.
But they're all right now in the same class. But the kids who have dual credit are doing more work. Like I have chemistry 2. All the kids in Chem 2, there's 20 and 20. They're all doing dual credit. Communications, we have 22 in the speech class. They're all doing dual credit. In our Englishes right now, English 12, they're doing literature, they're doing writing, composition, and they're all mixed together. Next year, we're looking at doing something different where just the dual credit kids are separate. Probably run into is we don't have enough staff for it.
Right.
Only 2 people. And we have all those classes, so we're looking at improving some things there from that standpoint. So that's an update there. Also, homecoming is going to be on the 28th. The 24th will be the core intro, very much like good stuff. We'll do the core intro. And that is 8 to 11 on the 28th. Did you get our juice for me?
We got a, yeah, I guess we're
Introduce yourself.
Sorry.
This is Jeff Martin. You haven't seen him in a while.
I know.
Introduce-
Nice to meet you.
Introduce yourself.
Visitor. Our trophy game with Jacksonville will be at Jacksonville this year on February 20th, which is, I believe, next Friday. Our boys and girls basketball team have both been doing very well this year. Girls tournament draw was last week. They will play on the 25th at home in their first tournament game. And the boys tournament draw is this Sunday. And hopefully, we're hoping to have a home game for them as well, which is good. We have never had that before. So that'll be great for them. Ladies races went really well this year for the boosters. Everything's really good. All the freshman tournament starts Saturday for our boys basketball team. Junior high basketball teams, their tournament started well on Saturday and the following Saturday. So the next board meeting will have an update on how long it's going. So yeah, we're good. Baseball started. People getting together, so that's good. A lot of kids in the weight room. So it's good. I think the contract we provided for Mr. Bente and Mr. Cochran really help out with that. I would say we probably have on average around 40 to 50 kids in the weight room right now, and that's anywhere from 8 to 12th grade. So it's really encouraging to see that many kids already.
All right, do we have anyone from Tower Oak Senior PTO?
Got a couple things to give you here. While I'm passing these out, I'd like to just take a moment to commend our bus drivers. With the weather, road conditions, and
I know, right?
I know. Well, you know what? I've been thinking about this for a couple weeks to say this. So they do a great job. In fact, 3 of our drivers have perfect attendance so far this year, and they're there. They're utmost safety. I have more questions from them regarding the safety of the kids, with stops and those kind of things. And so they really do a good job, and kind of unsung heroes, because they get out and get those kids home, and the little ones, they'll call sometimes and say, hey, doesn't look like there's anybody home. I don't want to let this one off, and I'll try to make a call and get a hold of a parent. Yeah, I'm running late, and they'll bring them back here and they'll pick them up. So they really do. They do a great job. So if you see or know of any of them, give them a attaboy or an attagirl, because they really do a great job for us. I've given you a list of the Red Apple candidates, or people that we've talked about over the last couple of meetings. What we're planning on doing, I included a sample letter that I pretty much have ready to send out to those folks coming to the March 12th meeting. I thought we'd have it in here again in March, and we'll get some more cookies. Maybe Mrs. Romack will bake a bunch of cookies, but thought cookies and punch or something, so we can kind of individually speak to some of these people that do a great job of donating their time and efforts to the school district. So that's the Red Apple Awards. Measles has been in the news, fortunately not in our news, but that is an issue in the state, so I kind of wanted to give you a copy from the Ohio Department of Health. Nora Jameson is going to be contacting parents regarding those. We have a handful, I guess, who have for whatever reason not been inoculated. And basically the ruling from the Ohio Department of Health is, if someone is not inoculated, and we have a measles outbreak or a case of it here in school, those that are not inoculated are excluded from school until 21 days after the rash onset of the last case. So if we get a situation where somebody has measles and comes to school and we have a case, you could be talking a large number of days. So she just, and most of those parents, if not all of them, have signed a waiver indicating they know, because they've not inoculated.
Oh, okay.
That's a risk that they have. She's just kind of sending that out as a reminder. So just in case you hear that, I think it was over in Sharpsville earlier this school year, they had a situation with mumps, and they actually closed the school for a couple of days. And so
You can come to school without having all your vaccinations.
yes. There are people that do not because of religious reasons or personal choices that they do not, but they
I thought,
Some kids can't get them, though, because if they have another issue going on, they're so they can't,
I'm sure there's reasons, but
we have to.
well, and that's why the exclusion is there, is they run the risk. If you have some type of an outbreak like that, then
Now, worst case scenario, if they did end up being out like a month, whose responsibility is it for them to keep up? How would they continue on with their grade?
yeah,
That's
you have to give them some stuff, but it certainly wouldn't be the same as in the classroom. You may have seen on the news this past week or so, there was a meeting at West Branch regarding parents. There's a misinformed, maybe, push for some parents requesting to opt out of some of these tests that we're talking about coming up. There's nothing in the law that gives them that option. We as a school district are required to give these tests to those groups of kids in those classes, and we've kind of just told our staff that we have to give that test. If they instruct their child to choose not to take that test, certainly there's potential negative impacts on that child's education, on the school district. We're suggesting they contact their state legislators and express their views on that. But this was something that came out from the Ohio Department of Ed, And I just thought, again, if it's something, there seems to be, we've not really had much here. I think we've had one or maybe two parents who have inquired about that. And, actually, at the meeting I was at the other day, it's like a 127-page House bill that has all the information about testing. And there's one place where the word opt-out is used, and it refers to those end-of-course exams when people have already taken a course, or they can choose to opt out, but nothing for any of the mandated tests. So, kind of a misleading situation. I think sometimes parents think, well, I've got this form, I'm gonna get my kid out of these tests, and it's not really as simple as that. So again, just some more information for you. The last thing that I have for you guys is we had talked about the school calendar for next school year, and the situation that we have is that our traditional starting day, the Wednesday after Labor Day, is actually September 9th, which leads to a later last day of classes. I know there's quite a bit of information in this packet, but what I wanted to do is give you some of this, and then hopefully the March meeting we can decide where we want to go. On the top of this is a copy of this year's calendar, just so you have an idea of our start date, our last day of classes. What I guess you need to realize is there's a lot of factors. You don't just automatically start early in September and end in the middle of June. For example, this year we had a 2-week Christmas break, so there's 10 school days that we potentially, well, not necessarily 10 school days, but there's 10 days of weekdays that we were off. In 2 years, I think, Christmas Eve is a Saturday and Christmas Day is a Sunday. Basically, we would go that whole week right up till the day before Christmas Eve, be off the following week, and come back that Monday, only missing 5 days of school. So that automatically affects your 184-day total. So the second page of this, I've given you some scenarios. What I refer to as our traditional calendar is basically beginning the Wednesday after Labor Day, going our 184 days, which includes our conference nights, includes professional days, and so on, and what the end date of school would be. And I did it out for 3 years because I think it's pretty important that if we do something different, or if we stick with the traditional, we see what it's going to be like for several years. Right now, most of the schools in Mahoning County are leaning towards a start before Labor Day for next year. I don't know how many of them are considering continuing that trend. So the traditional calendar that I've given you is basically our traditional start after Labor Day, the Wednesday. We could tweak that a little bit. One thing that I've looked at to try and save a day here, save a day there, and we look at the end of the school year, is spring break to be the week that includes Good Friday, as opposed to how we've always done it with Good Friday off and the whole week afterwards. You still have a week off, but Good Friday seems to be a day that traditionally is off school, and then now you're only talking 4 extra instead of 5 extra. That may sound like not a big deal, but you pick up a day here, a day at the beginning of the year, and pretty soon you're into the first week of June getting out of school as opposed to the 10th, 11th, or 12th. So I've given you a traditional calendar. The non-traditional calendar I give to you, and again, I'm not proposing anything other than the fact it's just something to ponder and look at. The non-traditional calendar that I've given you has us going to school 2 days before Labor Day. That would be the Monday and Tuesday of the fair week, I guess is a better way of putting that. Usually those first couple of days of school is a lot of record keeping and who's in the class and schedule changes and that kind of thing. The thinking there is we could do those 2 days, get that done, come back the Tuesday after Labor Day with classes, with students, and go right off of that. And you can see that puts us next year, last day of classes at June 7th. The 2 following years, that would be last day of classes June 1st, which is 6 to 10 days earlier calendar-wise than usual. I I call this third one the South Range calendar, because that's something they are looking at seriously of doing, and that is starting the full week before the fair starts. So they're looking at starting on August 24th, going a full week. The only thing that I really don't like too much about that is they're going to go a week, they're going to come back, or they're going to come also the next Monday, which is August 31st next fall, and then they're going to be off a week. And, a couple days and then off a week is one thing.
Downtime.
Yeah. And, how much are you gaining by going that week before and then off a week? So, just some things to look at. The other thing is the implications with the Mahoning County Career and Tech Center. They've got to come up with a schedule that kind of blends all 13 school districts that go there. Some starting in August, some starting in September. If it's something we have to run buses for a week to the vocational school. So, like I said, just some things to kind of take a look at. Any questions that you have as you look that over and think that over. But we really do need to kind of get that ironed out by the March meeting. So, any questions right now? I actually have the 16, 17, and 17, 18 years like this. I didn't want to give you too much. I thought if a summary like I did on that first page kind of gives you the breakdown of it. And like I said, I guess next school year, that late start. But after that, it starts between the combination of the Christmas breaks and the timing of that. It's not really the traditional one. Isn't quite as bad. June 7th, those are last day of classes. So, and with some waiver days, if one of those would happen to be a Monday, to have the kids come back, their last day of classes be on a Monday, we could always look at a waiver day and just that would still count in that total, and we could finish the kids up on Friday and be a little more productive that way than having them come back on a Monday. So there's some things we can do to tweak, but just something to put some thought into. And I think that's all I've got. Okay.
Just need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Mr. Bender?
Yes.
Mr. Blevins?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.